afternoon, colleagues and students. I am Dr. Leone, and also my colleague Cindy and Sharon is also in the team, and also Terrence. So we are the one to organize today's training. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box to contact us. And so we will do hands-on. So that's why please switch on Camtasia. If you haven't downloaded, please download as soon as possible. And of course, we also need some exercise files, so you can check the link through the chat room, and then to download some files, and we will use those samples files for editing, so for illustration. So hopefully, through last time workshop and today's workshop, actually we have covered most of the functions in Camtasia. Of course, there are some very advanced ones, but we believe that actually for TNL purpose, we have covered most of them already. Okay. Today's workshop, so we receive a lot of application, so that's why we have overbooked, and we try to our best to provide trainings, videos, and also one-to-one support. If you need very dedicated one-to-one support, feel free to contact us through WhatsApp or through emails. So we are the station to help. So today's workshop is on illustrating some advanced functions. So we believe actually most of you have tried the editing in the Camtasia. So very basic editing, you know the environment, etc. But we will also go through quickly just some basic things, and then we will jump into some advanced functions. Okay, again, I'm a e-learnologist and also wear several hats, several other hats. And also my colleague, Sarah and Cindy, is also colleagues in Teddy. So we will cover several things today. So first is about just a demo on selecting areas for recording. And then we will go for a step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Will be with some hands-on activities. We'll be do something do the video editing, audio. So we introduce a noise removal, and also some other things, etc. And also try the zoom and pan function. So this is something if you have a very fine details that we want to zoom, actually that approach can help. And also sharing the project with others and for export videos, and we will have the QA. So part 2 and part 3 we will do it in a small group. So the code class will separate into 3 groups, and then 2 groups will be in Windows and 1 group in Mac, and we will do the sharing within the small group. Okay, the workshop and then sharing. So by the way, so just next, actually CAES Patrick Dinoch, like our colleagues, also recommend us to actually give some promotion, provide some promotion. It's actually a digital literacy lab. So besides consultation from us, you can, in particular for students, you can actually go to this the digital literacy lab and have one-to-one consultations. They actually provide 30 minutes consultation, and you can apply them. And also they have some other trainings on storytelling, etc. So if you want to do something as a student in particular, or you want students to create something, so you can also contact Patrick or contact the DLL for more information. Okay, and also another thing is actually the handout. So we will try to cover today cover all the steps in the handout, so you can actually have a handout on your hand or on your screen, and then we can do things one by one. Okay, so I believe I have enough introduction. So maybe Terrence can help us to separate us into 3 groups. Thank you.
Okay, so today we're going to, because this is an advanced Camtasia workshop, so we do assume that the users, participants have some experience in using Camtasia. So, but still, I'm just going to quickly go through some basic functions and the Camtasia interface to make sure that we have the same terminology and that you can follow my demonstrations and which area that I'm pointing. Okay, so the Camtasia interface. Okay, let me launch my Camtasia. Okay, new project. Okay, So you should be familiar with this. I believe that you have some experience in using Camtasia, but still I'm just going to quickly go through. So this is the interface of Camtasia. So on the left-hand side, you see the toolbar, media, favorites, library, etc. and etc. So today we're going to use media, annotations, transitions, animations, cursor effects, voice narration, and audio effects. So there are a lot to be covered in this hands-on workshop. And then in the middle is the canvas. Canvas is where you can just simply drag and drop the annotation to canvas. It's for you to preview the effects. If you drag and drop the annotation here, you can see how it looks like in your actual video. So that's the canvas in the middle part. On the right-hand side is the properties. So properties is for you to edit the settings of the details of the settings of the video clip, the audio clip, and the effects. For example, take annotations as an example. You can change the size, the square color. You can change the line color, the text color, the size, etc., and etc. under the properties panel. In below is the timeline. Timeline, there are two things I want you to know. The first one is the magnifying function. So clicking on the minus icon, it's for you to zoom out of the timeline so you can get an overview of your video clips. Zooming in is to expand and take a closer look into your videos per second, okay? Second thing is the track. The timeline is organized into layers. So things put into the top layers like track 2 or track 3, it will cover the layers below. So if you put a black box on track 2, it will cover the content on track 1. So the first step that we're going to learn is the selecting an area that you want to record. All of this you may be familiar, but still I'm just going to quickly go through this. So if you want to select an area to record, there's a record button at the top left corner. You click on it, you'll be able to launch the Camtasia recorder. So for the Camtasia recorder, the first box is to select the area. And second one is your face camera. I'm in a green room, so I'm gonna just switch it off for now. And the third one is your microphone. Just select the one that you think is suitable. And then the final one, it's the computer audio, the system audio. A particular thing that I want to mention here is that I highly recommend you to film your video into a 16:9 ratio. In Camtasia, that would be 1080p. The size region would be 1920 times 1080. Because 16:9 aspect ratio is the most common aspect ratio, and it's suitable for your viewers to watch your video on any device. So I highly recommend it to choose a 16:9 aspect ratio. But you may ask, okay, so I have selected this ratio, but the region is too small. So one thing that I want to demonstrate here, is to click on the lock ratio. So there is a lock icon next to width and height. So you simply just click on it and you already lock the ratio to 16:9 aspect ratio. And you simply drag and drop this green selected area, this green line, this green box, and then to a region that you want to record your screen. It's still, you see that the width and height has changed, but it's still maintaining into a 16:9 aspect ratio. And you just click OK, and then you can start your recording by clicking on Start Recording button. So this is the very, very simple step, the first thing we want to demonstrate. Okay, so let's get started. So you should have your exercise file with you. Let me close this one. So you should have two files downloaded from the exercise folder. The first one is called sample video _ Mac. This is a breakout room for Mac, and it's a .cmproj file, which is a Camtasia project for you to edit in Camtasia. And second one is the background music. I'm just going to leave it for now. So double click on the Camtasia project folder. So you should see this one. Let me zoom out. So just now I explained about the zoom in and zoom out function on timeline, because sometimes your video is pretty long and then you want to get an overview of how long is your video, you can use the minus icon and get an overview and view the whole track. And if you want to edit in more details, you can just click on the expand. Okay. So the first function, just now I talked about selecting area, and the second one is to make a simple cut. Even though like maybe you already have worked on something similar on this function before, but still I'm just going to quickly demonstrate. And you can, when there's an exercise time, you can just give me a thumbs up if you already know this function. So video editing. The first one I'm going to demonstrate is to select an area and then cut the whole area. Because sometimes you have an unwanted session in your video clip and you want to edit it out. So to do this is to use this playhead, the blue arrow icon. You just click on it and drag to point 1. This is the exercise. And then you use the red arrow next to it to select all the area until point 2. And then you stop. So there are 2 ways for you to make the cut. You can either right click and you click delete range or ripple delete range. So if you want to create a space between these 2 clips, you can click delete range. Then you will see there is a space in between. So you can add the new content here in between. But if you select another one, let me return. So you still see this highlighted area. If you right click and click ripple delete range, it will actually delete the middle part, delete the unwanted area, and join the clips together. So this is the difference between. So it depends on what you want. So there are 2 cut that you can do, delete range or ripple delete range. Okay, so let me delete use the ripple delete range. So this is one of the functions, one of the exercise that you're going to do later. So another one is to adjust the clip speed. So clip speed can be used when you think that, oh, sometimes you record the whole video and you think the narration is a little bit too slow. Then you can adjust the clip speed. So do so is to click on your track, click, and then you see that this yellow box highlighting it. You right click, and you see there's a lot of functions that you can do. But for this function, you can see that add clip speed. Then you click on it. You'll see there's a blue box, blue line appearing under your clip here on track 1. You see clip speed is currently 1x. So 1x is the default, is the normal range, the normal speed of your clip. Moving on to the properties panel. Just now I mentioned that whenever you want to edit your video clip, your audio clip, the detail settings, you can go to the properties panel. So you can see that now, after you have activate the clip speed, you can see that under the properties panel, you see clip speed. And then you can actually change the speed here by manipulating the numbers. If you want to speed up your video clip, you can change it to 1.1 or 1.2. But in this exercise, I want you to speed up your clip to 1.3. And then just click enter. So immediately you see that the whole line has been shortened. It has been sped up. So you see originally, let me go back. Originally, this whole clip is 4 minutes and 36 seconds. And if you do it again by changing it to 1.3, and it's only it has been sped up, and it's only 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Okay, so this is the very, very basic 2 functions that I just demonstrated. I'm going to give you 1 minute to try doing the cut, the ripple delete cut, and the second is adjusting the clip speed. Okay, good, everyone is okay. Okay, moving on. So the next function that I'm going to demonstrate is this annotations, cursor effects, and transitions. So the first annotations that I'm going to demonstrate is arrow. So you may ask, like, why do we need annotations? Annotations are very useful in highlighting essential information. Like you want to teach something, you want to make sure that your learners, your viewers can catch that specific information. So you use annotations to use an arrow to point toward that information. And same for students, if you want to tell your professors that, oh, you want to pay attention to that, you can also use annotations. So on the left-hand side, under annotations, there are different types of annotations that you can use. Callouts, arrows and lines, shapes, blur and highlight, sketch motion, keystroke callout, but I'm not going to mention today on the keystroke. So for this exercise, step 3.1, I'm going to demonstrate how you can add an arrow to point out examples. You can use these arrows and lines, simply click, drag and drop to the canvas. Canvas is here. So we simply click and drag and drop to the canvas. And in this exercise, we would like to show you to add an arrow to point out examples. So I'm just going to manipulate the arrows here and make sure that it's pointing out examples. You can also use an alternative, which is the sketch motion. So this one is static. This arrow is static. That means it doesn't have any animation effect. It's just going to show there during this 45 seconds to around 54 seconds. But for this one, sketch motion, you can preview, you can move your mouse to it and preview that it actually has a motion. Let's say this is an arrow. The viewers will see that, oh, there's a slightly movement of that arrow pointing towards examples. Depends on you. You can later on try on this static arrow, or you use the sketch motion arrow. Okay, so for this one, I want to change the color. I also want to change the thickness of the arrow. Again, just click on the arrow and then click on the annotations and go to the properties panel on the right-hand side. So it's very simple, intuitive. Change the color to whatever you want. Let's say you want to change it to red color. You want to change the line style here. This one is actually referring to the ending of the arrow. Now it's I want it to be a straight line, ending with a straight line, and then on the other hand, it's use an arrow selecting here. You can also change the line style in between the two ends, the left ends and the right ends, and in between you can choose whether it's a dash or dots or just a straight line. I'm just gonna stay default. And the thickness, you can change it by just sliding left and right, and also play around with the opacity. I'm just going to make it thicker. So this is just a very simple step 3.1 exercise, adding an arrow. You can also add the sketch motion arrow later on during the exercise time. So the next exercise is to add a callout box next to examples and add the text click here. So for the callout box, you can go back to the first tab under annotation. You can see callouts. Simple, easy, drag and drop to the canvas. You can also change the tail of the callout box and just pointing it to examples to direct the attention of your viewers to examples. And then you can just double click on A, B, C and change to click here. Again, on the properties panel, you can change the speech bubbles shape, whether you want it to be a square or a speech bubble or thought bubble. In this case, I think a speech bubble or a square is more suitable. Change the fill color, and whether it's one to gradient or solid, etc. and etc. So let's say I want to make it green, and I don't want to change it to opacity. And you can also change the outline. Let's say you want to be the red color outline, make it a little bit thicker, for example. And the next exercise is 3.3. This one is, I want to pay attention to spend a little bit more time in explaining this one. So for blur and spotlight, you can go to the fourth tab called blur and highlight. So there are different types of highlight you can use, whether you want it to be a green one or a purple one or a yellow one. So just gonna go back. But my personal favorite is this one. This is also called spotlight. but it's the one too. There's the fourth one, this one here. This one actually really captured the attention because it darkens other area and just put the spotlight into the middle, into the text. In this exercise, is to spotlight the text in blue. So I really prefer to use this one, but it's up to you. You can also use the yellow one if you want. So for this one, when you click on the annotations, you can actually change the intensity of how dark you want the surrounding areas to be. So the darker it goes, the more highlight, the more spotlight you put on text in blue. So this is one of the exercise. And then moving on is the cursor effects. But before I talk about the cursor effects, I am going to pause right here again. I'm going to give you time to work on exercise 3.1 to 3.3. So if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask me. And for the pixelate one, then you can turn on the intensity to really like pixelate every frame, pixelate, or if you feel unsafe, okay, or like there are some technology that people can read through this blurred area, maybe you can give it one more steps, so make it even more blurred. So this is my tip on using the blur effect. Okay. So another one is the cursor effects. So this one, cursor effects, if you have do a screen recording and export it into an MP4 file, you cannot use this cursor effects. This cursor effects is only applicable if you use Camtasia screen recorder to record the screen. And then when you record, you use the mouse to stroll along the area that you want to highlight. So that's why like later on, when you import your project back into Camtasia, this is where you can add the cursor effects. This only works until here. If you have an MP4 folder imported into Camtasia, it doesn't work. It has to be a Camtasia project recorded using the Camtasia recorder, okay? So for this one, add cursor effects. Because we have this whole track on track 1, and I just want to add this cursor effects at step 3.4. So I'm going to teach you how to like split it to add the cursor effects. So you use the playhead to stroll to 3.4, and then you right click and then split or on Mac, there's a command shortcut. You can use command T. So you can try command T. And then split. And then just you can see that this whole session is on only cursor effects, and you simply just go to the cursor effects on the left hand side, the toolbar cursor effects, and then you choose this one. This is more visible, so I prefer this one. You can just simply drag and drop to the track. When you see that there's a green box highlighting it, simply just let go, and then you'll be able to see this the cursor effects being added on the properties panel. And when you stroll, you'll be able to see that there is a yellow box highlighting the whole sentence. Okay. So you use the canvas to preview the project, the effects being added to this clip. And under the properties panel, you can choose to change the setting of your arrow and of the color of the highlight, as well as the size of the highlight. So for this part, the one above, you can suddenly see that there is the arrow, the cursor icon appearing here. So you can change the size of your cursor. You can see in this preview. You can change the size of the cursor. Okay. Also change the opacity and this color of the highlight. Let's say if you want to change it to blue or the size, etc., etc. Just slide left and right. And the opacity to make it the words more visible. Softness is the surrounding of that circle. Okay. So just now I asked, like, you have to split it. So what if you don't split it? If you don't split it, let me return, undo everything. If you don't split it, and you just simply drag and drop the whole thing into here. Then all other clips will have this yellow spot. This is where your cursor is. So this is unnecessary. If you just want to have the cursor effects into just a specific section in your video, so you have to split your clip to add this. And then all this cursor motion, you have to record with Camtasia Recorder. Okay. So one more thing before we move on to the exercise time. Transition. So for the transition, you just go to the left-hand side toolbar and you click on transition. And there are a lot of transition that you can do. Today, we're just going to use the fade full black and to add this to the end of the end of this video. Very intuitive, just click fade full black and drop towards the end. The purpose of actually using fade full black is to make it less sudden for the viewers to to notify that the viewers, oh, this is the end of this video. Because sometimes I see some teachers having their instructional videos, they suddenly just cut. They have a sudden cut at the end. So the students may wonder, okay, is this really the end or something is happening? Of course, like the students will know, oh, this is the end. But to make it less sudden, so I recommend you to add this smooth and slow transition and blacken it and make it as like notifying the viewers this is the end of the video. So there are other transition that you can use, but some of them I usually recommend like circle review or fade. It's more natural. For the keep, rotate, and checkboard, it's a little bit old school, like the Microsoft PowerPoint, very old school style transitions. But today, in this exercise, I just want you to try on the cursor effects as well as the transitions. So I'm just gonna give you around 1 to 2 minutes to work on it. As usual, just give me a thumbs up after you have finished. So just now I can undo, right? Just clicking Command Z or the like undo button here at the top menu bar, click undo here. But what if you have move on and work on other effects, other clips, and then suddenly you want to delete this effects on a certain clip? Just very simple. You just click on the video clip on track 1 and you just click cross, just delete like cross. And then originally the cursor effects has been added to the whole track and you don't want it anymore and just click on here. So the properties panel is for you to edit the effects on the audio effects or video effects. Okay, so moving on to the next function is the advanced animation. So in this advanced animation, I'm going to demonstrate how you can zoom in to a particular point of your video. So in this exercise is to zoom in to these words, to these underlined words, okay? So to do this is you first move your playhead to this point, to this slide, title, animations, zoom in, pan, or scale up to scale to fit. So I'm going to zoom in my timeline to make it more precise, okay? Here, stop right here. And then you right click and you split selected. You split this whole session towards the end of the content and then you split, okay? You can also use Command T, okay? Then you move your playhead at the back to the beginning and you go to animations, yes. You go to animations on the left-hand side in the toolbar. So today we're going to use scale up and scale to fit. So to zoom in this part only. So the first one you're going to choose is scale up. You click on it, drag and drop to the track, and then make it snap to the playhead yellow line. You can see that the line is being highlighted, and then you let go. Immediately you see that the canvas has zoomed into the middle part of your video project. I'm not going to, okay, so the next thing that you're going to do is to, you can preview. The next thing you're going to do is to change this point. So you can drag and drop your scale up effect to around 2 seconds. Let's say I just want this session to zoom in within 2 seconds. From this point, after 2 seconds to this point, okay? You can just click on this red dots to change the duration. You can see that when you drag and drop, there's a duration counting how many seconds it takes to zoom in, okay? So for me, I'm going to stop at 2 seconds. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is to just focus on the underlined words instead of the center of the video. So if you want the video to zoom in from here to after 2 seconds to this point, you have to use your playhead to do this for you. So if you put your playhead at the beginning, that means that the video will start from here. And then you use your playhead, move until this after 2 seconds at this point, and then you change the canvas. It will automatically help you to focus the point to these underlined words. And of course, you think, oh, this is still a little bit too small. I want to zoom in even more. So you can use this percentage icon, percentage button above canvas, and you make it even smaller for you to view the whole canvas. Now it's a 73%. If you make it 50%, it helps you to zoom out a little bit and help you to manipulate the size of the video. And I want it to be even smaller for me to see, have a better view of the canvas. And I want it to be even bigger, to zoom in even bigger to make it more visible for these underlined words. So we can preview and go back to fit. Fit is the size of your exported video, your final product, okay? So from here, at this point, after 2 seconds, it will focus on here, this words underlined, okay? But you see, the problem is it will stay for this whole track to be in this, and suddenly it will jump right back to the original size. So to go back is to use another animation, which is called scale to fit. Click, drag and drop towards the end of this this clip, and then you just let go. And of course, just like just now, you can drag and drop and set the duration of how long you want it to reset to the original size. I would say 2 seconds as well. Okay. So you can preview using this canvas. You can play. So it's zooming in, highlighting the underline, and it pause right here, and you can explain, blah, blah, blah. And then right, it hits this point, it's zooming back to the normal size, and then continue your video. Okay. So this is the exercise that you're going to do. Try using scale up and scale to fit in creating this zooming effect to this word underline. I'm going to give you 1 minute on this one. Moving on. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is audio editing. So let's say you have recorded the whole video and audio, but you made a mistake in between the audio file, the audio track. So how can you just replace one session of the recording and record a new one? So we can make use of the video narration function. So on the left-hand side again, you see one of the buttons is called voice narration. So the next thing that I'm going to demonstrate is for you to overlap this session of voice narration. So in this sample file, you see that there on your side, you should be able to hear it. This is the wrong narration at 0.4 until the end of here, until the end of this point. So, so the first thing you can do is to click on the track and you use the playhead to move it to 0.4, and you use this red icon. You drag the whole session covering the waveform. You see that there's the ups and downs of that's actually the audio, the waveform of your audio of your the narration. So this is the part which I make a mistake, for example. And then you use the playhead, move to point 4, and then you use the red icon to select the whole session. And then you right click and click silence audio. Then this part you cannot hear anything. And then you move on back to the point 4, and then you can use this panel, the voice narration panel, and to record a new voice recording. Let me quickly demonstrate. So this is the new narration for point 4, demonstrating the voice narration function. Then just click stop. And immediately you'll see this new audio appearing on track 2. So one thing that I want to show you is actually, what if you want the original audio back, and you think that this audio narration is not good, and then you can actually just delete this session, and then you click on the original track. You want to return to everything back to normal. Actually, there are audio points that you can manipulate. So you see that this is the point of the original, 60%. That means that your current audio level is being set at 60%. This one in the below, the audio points in below is set as like 0%. That means that pushing the audio level to 0%. That's why you don't hear anything after you right click and click on the silence audio. Silence audio force the audio level of this session to 0%. So if you want to change it back to normal, you can just delete that specific audio points so that everything can be back to normal. So see? So you can also delete this point as well, this point as well. So I'm going to show you how it works for the silence audio points. So again, playhead here, highlight the whole session. If you click silence audio, you will see there's 4 audio points being created. This is how Camtasia, the program, has silenced this session of the audio. So I am going to demonstrate another first before I give you the exercise times to work on the voice narration and the other audio effects. Okay. Another thing that I want you to do later on is to add the fade in and fade out audio effects. So on the left-hand side toolbar, now you cannot see, but if you click on more, you can see the audio effects. Just click on here, audio effects. And today I'm going to introduce fade in and fade out. Let me get an overview of the video by zooming up. So just like any other effects, if you click on it, simply drag and drop to the beginning of the video, and fade out, you should use it at the end of the video. Just simply drag and drop. And if you zoom in, let me zoom in on my timeline to show you. You'll see the audio points, a new audio point being added, 2 audio points being added. So this is 0% and gradually increasing the volume to another audio points. Of course, default is just this around 2 seconds, but you can manipulate the audio points and drag towards later, or like any other specific moments that you want the fade in to end, okay? So the purpose of fading in and fading out is to give like a heads up to the viewers to make it, oh, this is slow, this is the beginning of the video, giving them this is a slow transition to the video. So it gives a heads up to the viewers instead of startling, because some teachers will immediately start their teaching and start the narration right away. Sometimes you surprise the viewers if you don't add in fade in and fade out. So I'll highly recommend you to add fade in and fade out as well. Another audio effects is noise removal. Again, it's just like adding in, like click on it and simply drag and drop to the whole audio track, and you'll see audio effects was added. And when you click on it, under the properties panel, you see noise removal being added here. I don't want to change the clip speed. Okay. So under noise removal, I don't recommend you to manipulate the sensitivity, because if you manipulate, you can try, but if you manipulate the sensitivity, you hear that the narration would become quite pitchy. It not really natural voice. So if you really want to reduce the noise, usually it's the aircon noise. You can manipulate the reduction level. You can change it to around 30. You'll see there's a slight decrease of the background noise if you change the reduction level. But I still want to recommend you to use a better quality microphone, because if you really record your narration next to like a highway, it's very difficult for a program to remove those noise, even if I use Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere Pro. So I highly recommend you to use a better quality mic to record the narration. And then if you really record that buzzing sound of the air conditioner, you can use the noise removal and change the reduction level. So I'm going to pause right here and give you around 1 minute to work on. So one of the files in the exercise folder is this background music. And just now I mentioned that media is where you import your files, your screen recording, your audio. So here you can click on the plus icon and click on import media, and then click on advanced Mac and click on your background music folder. Just double click and then you'll see this background music. And to add any folder, simply click on it, drag and drop. Let me get a better view of my video. And then move it to the beginning of your video. So, okay, so sometimes you want background music to, we want background music in our video, but not blocking our own voice narration. So I'll recommend you to decrease the volume to around 20 to 30%. So usually this range will, the viewers will still hear the music, but can hear the narration still clearly. So around 20 to 30%. So sometimes you say, okay, I really like this background music staycation, but it's not long enough and you cannot extend because it's the end of this background music. So what you can do is to copy and paste a new track, and then you overlap towards the end of the first clip, and then overlap the second clip to towards the end of the first clip. And then you use the playhead, go to near the end, and you zoom in. And I'm going to show you how I usually do it. So overlap a little bit, and then you add the audio points. Here, you click on the audio folder, you right click and you see add audio point. And you can add this audio point, and then towards the end, you add another one. And then you drag down the audio points to around 0%. And then you have another one on the new clip, and then right click, add audio points. And then you make it stay there. And then for the beginning of the second clip, you drag to the 0%. So even though the background music is quite, it's not really loud. So sometimes the audience cannot really hear clearly there's a transition. But if your background music is slightly louder, around 40%, people can hear the difference. There's a sudden cut if you put it this way. You didn't join the two clips together and you just put it this way. They will hear, oh, the music is ending, but starting again. But if you overlap a little bit, it will make the transition more smooth. This is how I do it. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about is exporting. This, I don't really give you time to work on this, so you can play around the background music later on. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is exporting and backing up your projects. So just like this, if you have work on this project, you simply click on File, and then you click Save. But what if you want to share this unfinished project for others to edit, to continue to edit? So for Mac, you simply click on File, and then you scroll down to Save As, and you click Save As. And then you just use the same name or create a different name, and then create standalone project, and then you hit Save. So this is the project you can share with others. So because this is a Mac project, you're using Mac to open this Camtasia. But what if your colleagues are using Windows and you want him or her to continue to work on your projects? So you can export this Camtasia project to a Windows format for your colleague to open on his or her computer. So on same under File, and then you go to Export, and then scroll down, you'll see Project for Windows. Okay, so similar to your colleagues, if they're using a Windows Camtasia and they want to export a project for you to use on your Mac, you can ask them to do similar things. The details for Windows to Mac is listed in the handout, so you can have a look later on. But for Mac to Windows, you can click on Export and scroll down to Project for Windows. But there is a known issue in Camtasia. So sometimes it doesn't work for using Mac exporting to Windows. They will delete one of the audio tracks. So really be careful if you are exporting a project for your colleagues who are using a Windows. So you still can click on this one. Okay. So for export, this is the end. But if you want to export a final product, if you really finish your video, you can use this export icon on the top right corner. You click on export and you select local file, and then usually it's an MP4 folder, sorry, MP4 file, and then you can just simply click export to export your video project. So because of the time, this would be the end. Okay, so one thing that I think that might be useful for a lot of staff, especially if you need to edit like event video, which would be going to annotation, annotation, and then you click on the call outs. You can add this box here because it's white in color. I'm just going to change the color to view it better. Let's say, I don't know, it's blue. Okay, sometimes you want to introduce, oh, this is Professor ABC. So you can add this title here. You can change the name to Professor XX. And then how can you add the animation? Because you don't want to just it to appear like this, like a box. You want to add animation. So what you can do is to click on behaviors. Sorry. So after you add this box, you can click on behaviors, and I usually use sliding, which creates this transition effect, slide from left to right, and you just simply click and drop to this point. And then you make it a little bit longer, and then you preview, it gives you this
video
transition effect, okay? Let me silence this one first. Yes. So it gives you this effect. And of course, you see that there's a theme. So what you can do is to click on it, click on the annotation that you've added, go to the properties panel, and then you can see that there's a new tab added called behavior properties. You click on it, you can change the animation effect in, it's coming in. During is when it's during this effect, and out is when it exits, the annotation exits the frame. So just now you see this weird dimming effect because here it's called fading. So during you can just switch it off. And for end, the style, you can choose a different, more like bouncing or drifting or fading. So I'm not going to change, I just switch up the style to none in the during process, and then you preview again. So this is the effect. So there are a lot more effects that you can play around using drifting or explode or fade. But I think this would be useful for staff or students if you just want to add a name appearing when a new character, like a new interviewer appearing in your video. So this would be the end of our workshop. So you're very welcome to ask me any questions or send me an email if you have other things to ask. And please, I would be grateful if you can fill in the survey form. So thank you very much for joining today's workshop.